Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tech Support Live. Let us know if you guys can hear us.
And of course, there's always a delay getting out to them.
Yes.
I can hear you. Yep, I heard you over here. We're good to go.
Great. So welcome to Tech Support Live. For those of you who are new here, we host the show every Friday at noon, and we're so excited to have you all here. This is your space to hang out, ask questions, get help setting up your router, anything like that. And we're here to answer your questions, support you in any way we can, and just chat. So feel free to throw all of your questions into the chat. My name is Krishna, and I'll be your host for today. I'm the new Interactive Media Marketing Intern, and this is actually my first Tech Support Live. I mainly work on our YouTube with Angelo, and for those OG viewers, I know I'm not Angelo, but I'm so excited to interact with you all, and thank you for welcoming me into your space. So, Christine, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Christine. You guys probably have heard of me, at least behind the scenes. I'm usually in the chat. I will be covering the chat again today, posting the links that we talk about, and I help moderate and manage the community team. Michael?
All right, I'll jump in. Hi, everyone. Anyone who's been on here before knows me, but I'm Michael, Technical Marketing Manager at NETGEAR. I spent a lot of playing with hardware, beta products, used to do support as well. And I'm here to help answer any questions you got. And over to Darren.
I'm Darren. I'm a technical support specialist at NETGEAR. I cover the community and some social media and answer technical questions about home networking products at NETGEAR.
Great. And feel free to throw all of your questions into the chat. Karen, I know you're a regular here, so it's great that you're here. Hello, Razor. Nice to see all of you guys in the chat.
So while we're waiting for people to ask questions, I'll throw a question out to the rest of the moderators. What router are you actually using in your home right now? Christine,
I have
Darren?
I have the XR500 running right now. I need to reset my 700, get it back up and working. Hopefully, I get the 1000 eventually.
That would be nice. How about you, Christine?
I have the new cable Orbi Wi-Fi 6, and I'm loving it.
Excellent.
Yeah. It's a game changer for me.
And I, of course, am running 3 different routers in my home. I've got my main router, which is still which is still the R9000. And then I've also got piggybacked off of that an Orbi system so that I can get whole home, Wi-Fi, especially outside on our deck and on the patio. And then I've got the XR1000 on my desk here, which is what I run my work machine through, and which is what I'm connecting through right now. So a little bit of everything.
Very nice. Christine, you got a warm welcome from Hamad.
Oh, yes. Hi. Hi, Hamad. How are you? Is it surprising to see me here on screen this week?
Hey, now they all know what you look like. You've always been this disembodied text face.
I've been up in the cloud all this time.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was all prepared to try to help and answer some questions. So feel free to throw them in the chat. Just my knowledge.
What is your favorite color?
Purple. That's an easy one.
Question for Michael. What'd you think of the Steam handheld?
Not that impressed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I'm not much into the handhelds anyway. They just don't do enough for me. Oh, okay. What does Ryan have? He has the XR1000 for Pro. Pick the router, but when I turn off my PS4 Pro and turn it back on, I have to manually connect again. How can I get it to connect without doing that? Well, Darren, since you have the isn't it the PS5? Do you have any recommendations for Ryan? Because it sounds like it's the PS4 Pro that has to be manually connected again.
That's odd. I mean, I haven't really had a console lose a Wi-Fi name and have to connect again.
Yeah, I would ask if he's connected wirelessly. Is it asking for the password again when you're trying to connect in? Or is it acting like it's just completely lost that the credentials for that SSID?
Yeah, I was going to say if it's just losing a connection but saving the credentials, maybe he needs to do an IP reservation inside the router.
Yeah, that's a good idea to try. Then it doesn't have to ask for another IP address. But it is interesting that he has to connect again, because that should be on the PS4 side, where once it loses connection, it should automatically try to reconnect again.
Yeah.
Yes, and Karen, with the looking forward to picking up the iPhone 13, rumored to have Wi-Fi 6E. Yeah, that's the one that is supposed to have 6E on it. Hopefully it will, because Apple had promised that actually was going to be on the 12. And that was, I think, last summer. And then by late last fall, it kind of fell off the list and didn't get the support. But the 13 is supposed to have 6E on it.
Cool.
And I see the question that I said you knew was going to be asked, which is there any update on Duma 3.0 for the XR500? And unfortunately, that's a Ben question.
It is a Ben question, but we'll answer it to the best of our ability. So far, we have not heard specific release dates. I know that this is a priority within the organization. We definitely provide the feedback from this show every week. So they are aware that this is something that's being highly requested. So we'll get it out as soon as we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he has a wireless connection that's losing connection, but doesn't have to re-enter the password, just has to reconnect.
Yeah, then I think your suggestion of doing the IP reservation in the router for the PS4 would be probably the first best step to try. Because if he doesn't have to enter credentials again, then the PS4 should automatically, be pinging and trying to connect in. And I don't think there's anything you can do on the router side except for the address reservation in the hopes that that takes care of it.
And Ivan asks, hi guys, any update? Oh, sorry. Next question. Hamad asks, any more tips to find out what's going on with the Wi-Fi card? It disconnected continuously. It's asking for Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, Wi-Fi cards can be a pain. I've used a few in the past, and I find that buying a better laptop usually fixes that problem. But given that, with the Wi-Fi card, if it's disconnecting continuously, as long as you have a good connection, the only real advice is to uninstall and reinstall the drivers for the card. Make sure that you've got the latest updated drivers on it. Darren, do you have any other suggestions that you could do with a Wi-Fi card?
No, I mean, resetting it, getting it back, all the drivers installed, stuff like that. But yeah, they're pretty basic when it comes to troubleshooting. Just making sure the drivers are up to date on the computer when you put it into your computer.
Yep. Also, just as a test, try connecting to the 2.4 and then try connecting to the 5 and see if it's one particular band that you're having problems with, or whether it's just disconnecting no matter which band it's on randomly. And also, which Wi-Fi card? Is it actual Wi-Fi card you put in your PC, or are we talking about an actual Wi-Fi adapter that you're plugging into your laptop? Not that the answers would be any different with both of them, just wondering.
Made me think of back when laptops used the actual card slid into it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And sometimes they've had a little antenna that would pop out to get a little bit better signal strength. And I see that Kieran's saying not like my Oppo is slow for Wi-Fi, but I missed the iPhone. But if it has 6E, that's a bonus. Yeah, I know some of the off-brand stuff like the Oppo have gotten really good reviews. But yeah, being able to get 6E on your phone definitely would be a bonus. Keep it in mind that the range on 6E will not be as far as the Wi-Fi 6, basically the 5 gigahertz or the 2.4, because with 6E, it's going up to 6 gigahertz, and the higher the frequency, the less range and the more it gets stopped by walls. So for instance, if you had your laptop or phone that has 6E on it and you're 2 rooms away, and then you go and connect up to the 5 gigahertz band, you'll probably find that the overall signal strength is going to be higher on the 5 gigahertz band, just because 6E, you're going to lose more of that signal as it goes through walls. And a laptop card. Okay, so that must be, Darren, as you were saying, an actual card that slides into it, not a USB adapter.
How long has that been since they've made one of those?
I haven't seen one in a really long time.
Yeah, might be hard finding some updated drivers for that. And that's a really old laptop. I haven't seen a laptop have a expansion slot like that in a long time either.
Nope, pretty much all of them are going off of USB ports now when they're connecting in.
And Warrior One is asking, is there any firmware betas for XR1000?
I haven't heard of any. Christine, you might have seen something like that go by. Do you know if there is?
For the XR1000, actually, I'll have to defer to Darren on this one.
I'm checking now. No, we only have betas for the 450, 500, and 700 on our beta community. I believe the XR1000 released with Duma 3.0. Is that right, Michael?
Yes. Yes, it did.
So all the betas that we're doing right now are Duma 3.0 on the older gaming routers.
And just out of curiosity, Darren, because Duma OS was released on the XR1000, are there any bug fixes or feature enhancements for? It wouldn't necessarily be in beta, right? It would be just a regular release.
There is some features that are in the future for Duma 3.0 on the XR1000 that haven't released yet. We may beta those eventually, but that's more for Ben to talk about if he was here. Yeah. I just know there's a couple features that are coming to the XR1000 that aren't there yet. Maybe that's what he's asking for a beta for.
Gotcha. Yeah, perfect. And Michael, I wanted to circle back with you, and this is really for my own knowledge and maybe benefit the audience here. If you have Wi-Fi 6, you don't necessarily need to go to Wi-Fi 6E. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, I think it was sort of a bad labeling for them to call it Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E, because it gives people the idea that one is sort of just one function right off of the other. It's just adding sort of an extra feature. And technically that's right, because Wi-Fi 6E has all of the Wi-Fi 6 extra functionality in it, but it's a completely new band that we're using. It's using 6 gigahertz band instead of the 5 gigahertz.
Right.
And so it really depends on how fast people want. It's kind of like if you have a PC with a 2.4 gigahertz processor in there, and you say, I want faster speeds, so you put a 4 gigahertz processor. All it's doing is it's giving you faster speeds when you're using that. And it depends on what they have. If they don't have any 6E devices and they're not planning on upgrading to 6E for a while, no reason to go to 6E at this point, because you wouldn't get any of the benefits.
Got it. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I saw that Kieran was added some more information about the adapter, PCIe and USB. And he also asked why NETGEAR seems to not make many Wi-Fi cards. And mainly it's NETGEAR did do a lot of Wi-Fi cards in the past, but the market is so saturated with competitors that are making adapters, and adapters are so inexpensive for a lot of these companies to make. There's not a big reason for NETGEAR to put a lot of effort into that. We try to go on the other end where we're trying to handle the management of everything with the routers, the range extenders, access points, that sort of thing, and leave things like the adapters to other, second tier or third tier players.
Yeah. Also, there isn't much new product that doesn't have a Wi-Fi card built into it that you don't even need an adapter. Even motherboards for desktop computers have Wi-Fi cards in them. So like you're selling to less and less. Everything already has it in it.
Yeah. The main reason to put an adapter in there is when you get a new standard that comes out and your laptop, for instance, is perfectly fine, but you want to be able to use that new standard. And so then you'd get the adapter card and put it in there instead, just so that you could use it. Like when people went from in to AC Wi-Fi, but they still had an in laptop, but they wanted to be able to use the speeds of the AC Wi-Fi, then they'd get an AC adapter and put it in there. But the cycle is so fast on them updating laptops, phones, and everything else to the latest generation of Wi-Fi, there isn't as much of a reason for adapters anymore.
Awesome.
Yep. And I see that Razer's mentioning many laptops can be upgraded to have better Wi-Fi adapters. Yeah, it really depends on the laptop and whether its user configurable do the upgrade and how tech savvy someone is. A lot of people are afraid to actually pop off the back of the laptop and then go in there, pull out the Wi-Fi card that's in there and put another one in. Some of them you can, just depends on the laptop.
Yeah, laptops have been getting more and more upgradable recently. Like companies are allowing you to change parts out on them pretty easily.
Yep, which I like, because I always like to be able to not only repair my own stuff, but be able to swap out components with better components, which is why most of my stuff I do with a desktop PC, because then I can swap out anything I want.
Unless you're Apple, then you can't touch it.
Or like one laptop I have where I think the connector for the power adapter has burned out in the laptop, and I can get all the way down to the motherboard, but unfortunately it's on the other side of the motherboard, which means I'd have to pull the entire guts of the laptop out. And that's about where I draw the line and say, I don't want to do that. Too much.
Yeah. So for a filler question, Michael, what have you printed lately?
What have I printed lately? Good question. Let's see. Let me jump up here real fast, grab a couple of things just to show. All right. Just for a quick show. Well, first, I printed a tiny Eiffel Tower.
Oh, that's cool.
And the main reason why I printed this is because I added some extra hardware onto my 3D printer so it can do time-lapse photography. So that as it does every single layer on this, it takes one picture. So when you finish and show the video, the thing just grows out of nowhere.
Oh, that's cool. Looking forward to seeing that video.
Then for fun, a cookie cutter with a chocolate molecule in there. Now I just have to make the cookies to use it.
Awesome.
And then last but not least, I decided to buy a bunch more nozzles for my printer. And then, of course, that meant I needed to make something for it to go in. And then I decided, hey, what about see-through plastics? And so I ended up printing this, where you can see through the plastic on the top.
Yeah.
And it says nozzles on the front. And I can do that. Ta-da!
Wow.
So that's been the fun stuff I've been working with.
It looks like Hamad has a question for us. Will Wi-Fi eventually fade away?
Wi-Fi? No.
Ah.
No, we will always use Wi-Fi because most people don't want to have things wired. And so the only answer to that is Wi-Fi. The standards are going to change, the frequencies that they're using, the speeds, but Wi-Fi itself, no. In fact, you'll probably see it become even more and more popular as it gets faster and faster in the home, as long as it can make it through walls and so on, just because people don't want to have wires or they can't. I mean, running a wire from your router in the living room all the way down the hall into the bedroom is no fun. I've done it before. It was not a lot of fun. Going over door jams, little thumbtacks, the usual stuff.
Well, technically, Wi-Fi could go away if someone finds a new way to broadcast data through the air and it's not Wi-Fi, then maybe...
It's called microwaves, and then we'll cook with it.
Yes.
Just take a chicken, put it up in the air in front of your router. 15 minutes later, it's done. And in fact, we joke, except I knew someone who was in the military a long time back that actually worked with microwaves, point-to-point microwaves. And they said, yeah, the amount of power coming out of those big dishes was enough where you could almost cook something when you stuck it in there.
Wow. So it looks like we have Vanessa Kitty here.
Hey, Vanessa. Good to see you.
And yes, Vanessa, there is a newbie on the panel today. I'm the new intern. Excited to meet you. And welcome, Ren. Nice to meet you as well. And Vanessa said, I wired up the assessor buildings in Pima County, Arizona after the tech they hired got fired.
So you're saying the tech wasn't very good and they needed someone that knew what they were doing to come in and fix things.
Thanks, Vanessa. For Krishna's benefit, Vanessa is well-versed in a lot of things, so it's not surprising that she was able to do a better job.
Yes, Vanessa's a major tech guru. From the stuff that she said she's done, she knows her stuff.
Very cool. And Juan Roman says, NG documentation says WAC 510 has ability to run in router mode. Does WAC 540 also have that ability?
That's a good question. I've never even looked that up. Let me check and see.
I'm going to guess no. I'm looking here, but I don't know for sure. So I don't know why we would market it as just an access point if it can run as a router.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the answer is no.
Yeah, I just happened to pop up the data sheet just to see.
So what's interesting is he says the WAC 510, the WAC 510 has that ability. So I would almost bet it should.
Yeah, looking at the spec sheet, though, there is no reference to it being able to go into router mode.
Let me see if I can ping.
Oh, wait. I have the exact answer here because luckily we have a handy dandy comparison chart with the WAC 505, 510, and 540. The 510 can be put in router mode. The 505 and the 540 can't be put in router mode.
Interesting. Awesome. Well, there's your answer, Juan.
Yep.
I find that strange that we could put an access point in router mode, but okay, let's go with it.
It's all up to the project manager going, a stretch feature. Let's add the ability to have it go into a router mode. Yeah, we can put that in there. Then you put it in there, you test the water. If no one bites, then you don't think about it in the future. Okay, Vanessa had an accident at White Alice radar site. Expect generator. No one knew about the main power was locked down while the antenna was being repaired. Interesting.
What is a White Alice radar site?
I think it's probably the exact opposite of a black hat site, the ones where you're not supposed to go to.
Oh, gotcha.
But Vanessa could tell us more on that one.
Yeah.
She says 5 people were
irradiated.
The transmission's about 15 minutes over 5 hours. We lost them all in 5 days. Remember our fallen bets and why they fell.
It says it was a telecommunications for the Air Force with 80 radio stations.
Wow.
Is what a White Alice is.
Okay. But yes, those microwave dishes, if that's what they were using, you did not want to get in front of.
Wow.
And it was funny, mentioning microwaves. I actually took a class on microwaves in college, and the graph paper we had microwaves was actually a circular graph going down in instead of your standard square where you go like that. Weirdest graph paper I ever saw.
Oh. That is weird.
I noticed we've had a few more people jump onto the stream, so feel free to throw your questions into the chat or just talk about what you're interested in right now and we can start a conversation. And in the meanwhile, Michael, how did you get into 3D printing? I'm so curious.
Well, first, one thing I was going to jump out since it's almost the halfway point. Everyone remember, hit that like button. We like it. Everyone else likes it. It's great stuff. And how did I get into 3D printing? Well, I've only been into 3D printing for about, I'd say 8 months now. And I'd always wanted to, but I couldn't really justify buying the printer because I couldn't think of enough things to print. And then Christmas rolled around and hey, it's time, let's jump in, buy a printer. I bought the printer, started playing with things, realized I outgrew that printer almost instantly and had to buy another one. And yeah, now I just am having fun printing different things, learning a lot about 3D printing, what to do, what not to do. Like, don't have the print head hit the bed and then gouge your bed. That's a bad thing. I did that, it was bad. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you learn, if you want to, you can, instead of just grabbing stuff off of the internet and printing what someone else has designed, you can learn software so you can design your own stuff. And I've designed a couple of little tools myself, but I have another friend that had to buy a 3D printer because I bought one. And she's really into the design. And she's created a lot of, fun things, including she designed her own little birdhouse that she printed. Wow. And yeah, it highs the limit on what you can do.
Do I see a new reality show, Keeping Up with Michael?
Absolutely. Better than Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Come on. Okay, let's see.
Looks like we have one from Warrior One. My Wi-Fi extra 1000 keeps disconnecting, and my UPnP not working at the QoS. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Any fixes for this in the NetDuma? Fraser told me to tell you guys about beta firmware. So
beta firmware, Ben would know more about that. We don't have any information about a beta firmware for the XR1000 right now. Maybe NetDuma has something for us that Fraser's talking about, but I'm not aware of it. That's definitely a Ben question. But as for the XR1000 keeps disconnecting, what devices are disconnecting? Is it certain Wi-Fi devices? Is it a constant time that it's happening, or is it just a random time that it's happening?
Yep. And then, of course, the standard fixes for something like that is, factory resetting it, manually reflashing the firmware in case somehow the firmware has gotten corrupted. Any other just default ones you can think of, Darren?
Adjusting your Wi-Fi channels. Maybe something's interfering with your connection on Wi-Fi if you're not using the correct channel.
Yeah, and Warrior One, if you wanted to follow up with us in the community, it's either Darren_M or Christine T. We can certainly continue to work with you and NetDuma in terms of getting you the beta firmware if that's available.
And do you want to pop in the NETGEAR team email address?
I do.
Excellent.
So also shoot us an email at netgearteam@netgear.com with hashtag stay connected. That'll help make sure that we can find you from the show and work with you directly.
And Kieran says it'd be amazing to see a NETGEAR times NetDuma tech support live.
Would be fun to actually pull in one of the NetDuma guys into one of these.
Yeah, it really would. They're highly knowledgeable, and clearly it's their product. But yeah, it would be good to.
It's a little hard to do with them because they're over in the UK. The time difference makes it hard for us to be on call.
Well, I know there's at least one person that comes to our tech support live that logs in from the UK. So at least someone's up that late at night.
Yeah, but they'd be wanting to get a paycheck to be answering questions, and that's not during their working hours.
This is just being popular.
Yes.
And I saw that Vanessa Kitty said she had fun time in the Arctic, got her first moose and black bear 40 miles south of the Arctic Circle. I don't believe there's bears. I've been to Alaska on cruises, I think 4 times now, and they keep promising there's bears in Alaska. I've never seen a single bear the entire time I was there. I even went on one excursion to see bears, and there were no bears. So I don't think bears exist.
In Alaska.
In Alaska. Yep. And I did at least make it up above the Arctic Circle once on a cruise to Norway. We actually went all the way past it and got to the tip of Norway, which is within the Arctic Circle. And it was during the summer solstice, which means the sun never went down. Yep.
That would be so hard.
Well, at about 2 a.m. when you're at the martini bar and you're looking out the window and it looks like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was interesting.
Juan Roman says, suggestion to pass the chain. Please make a prosumer router that avoids looking like a spaceship. Rack mountable would be a plus.
Okay. Well, normally for our business products, you'll get stuff that looks, more utilitarian, basically square box stuff, and is rack mountable. On the consumer side, there's not that design has pretty much gone away because people don't like just these rectangular. Also, a rack-mounted router, I would recommend not doing because you're basically putting your router inside a wire cage. You'll still get Wi-Fi signal, out of it, but you are going to be affecting the Wi-Fi. But certainly can't hurt to pass it along and see if the product managers see avenue for that where it might be useful.
Yeah, but he could definitely go to our business side if he just wanted to mount rack router that doesn't have Wi-Fi and used access points.
Yep.
Our business side is very reasonable. What you can price range to get for what you need. If you're looking for that type of stuff rather than the home networking side.
Yep. And as far as the cost for business products, NETGEAR does have some of the least expensive business products when compared to competitors with features and functions. So yeah, I would recommend look at the business products. You may find one that you want. So it is funny. I did actually see a picture of the very first product that NETGEAR put out online. Our CEO happened to post it. And it was sort of a pistachio-colored switch.
Really?
Yeah. And I saw it, and all I could think of is, who in the world picked that color? Who wants pistachio in your switches?
Did we make it for businesses or for home consumers?
At that point, I think it probably was for businesses.
Okay.
Because that was probably who they were targeting it to start with. It was, I think, an 8-port switch. But I shouldn't be surprised because there were some other companies I remember in the past where there was one, I don't know if it was a switch or not, but it was from a company and it was bright purple. So when you went into the lab and you saw the rack of switches, that thing just really jumped out.
And then Razor asks, does NETGEAR have any plans for QoS database updates to add new L7 entries, some of the newer VoIP applications?
I have not seen anything on the QoS database updates. I'm sure that they're looking at that, but in the channels that I've looked at, I haven't seen any indication that they have any updates, at least in the near future, that they're talking about. Darren or Christine, have you heard anything or seen anything?
It's a great suggestion that we will pass up because I've seen some stuff on the community for people with older routers wanting those QoS updates on some of our older Nighthawk routers.
Yeah, Razor, it would be good for you to put any updates you'd like to see there. It'd be good for you to put them in the chat so we can bubble that up specifically targeted for what you're looking for.
Welcome, Adrian. Adrian asks, how can I separate 2.4 Gs from 5G on a Nighthawk M62?
Yep, and I think he's talking about the MK62, which is the Nighthawk mesh product. And what you need to do is you need to go into the admin GUI on the router, and you want to turn off Smart Connect. Because Smart Connect is what we call it, that makes the router decide which band you're going to go to. So you don't have to think about it, and you only have one SSID. But once you've turned off Smart Connect, it'll then separate that into two separate bands like a standard router.
And Warrior1 is asking, laptop/phones disconnects at random times. I factory reset, also flash the firmware, but no luck. I'm going to be emailing to see if there's any new firmware beta to fix the problem.
Yeah, definitely you want to email us, and there may not be a firmware beta that fixes the problem. It may actually be a problem with your unit itself, because you shouldn't have to be, resetting it all the time because of random disconnects. But definitely reach out to us, and we can, help you look into it, see what can be done.
Yeah. Because you're running an XR1000 perfectly fine, right, Michael? Like,
oh, yeah.
Disconnects, yeah.
No, mine's been rock solid. I've had zero problems with it.
And then the Peep Show says, what's up with the Nighthawk AX12 RAX 120 dropping Wi-Fi connection every so often? Are they getting a firmware update soon to fix it?
I've reached out to one of our resources within the team that may help us get a hold of the if there's a beta firmware available. So I'll ping you back when I have an update on that. So it sounds like you're already on the latest firmware, which is good. Other than that.
Yeah, and also one thing would be good to know is, has it always had this issue, or is it something that's just started recently?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And for Adrian, no, it doesn't affect the mesh network settings if you turn off Smart Connect. And I see Vanessa mentioned about driving to the lodge by the main lake at the base and saw mom and her black bear cubs jogging up. Very cool. The only thing I had like that was taking the train in Alaska, and our train suddenly stopped, and I look out the window, and there's a moose on the track.
Oh.
And the moose is slowly walking up the track, and the train is slowly going the speed of a moose on the track as we're just waiting for the moose to get off. That moose liked that track. It took about 20 minutes before he finally decided to step off the track. And he faked us out halfway through. He stepped off and then stepped right back on again. Stupid moose.
And then, Michael, I think Rahul Kumar had some comments for you.
In the MR60, Smart Connect is not available under advanced setting wireless. MR60?
You should be able to separate them, though. I don't know what's going on there. If there's
the
no
MK62,
Smart Connect.
you should. Oh, I'm assuming he's saying MK60?
Yeah, I'm looking at the user manual. It doesn't have Smart Connect in there. But you should be able to separate them. That's what made the Nighthawk mesh line different from the Orbi mesh line. Is
exactly. Unless on that particular model they decided to remove that feature.
Yeah,
I'd have to check with the PLM on that to find out if they did remove it, and then hopefully ask them why they would, because that is the biggest thing that makes the difference between the Orbi and the Nighthawk mesh, at least from a user standpoint, is being able to actually separate those out. And wait a minute, I'm even looking at the MK62, the info on Amazon, and where did I just see that? There it is. Second paragraph from the bottom, and it says design with MU MIMO Smart Connect for one Wi-Fi name and beamforming. So they have Smart Connect if it's not actually in the advanced things, and that means they just didn't put the feature in to turn it off.
Yeah, the MR60 doesn't have it in in the user manual at all.
That's strange. Well, that's a new one for us because I'm not sure why they wouldn't have put it in there.
Good suggestion if they kind of overlook that, if we can get that fixed, or if that's intended. We don't know. We'll have to check.
I've noticed a few more people have come on, so
Good.
please feel free to throw your questions into the chat, and make sure you also like this stream so that if you liked it, and please feel free to start conversations. We would love to interact with you guys even more.
All right. So while we're waiting for other questions, any other topics?
Michael, you're a little out of frame, just so you know.
What was that?
You're just slightly out of frame. You see about half your face.
Interesting. I can see myself in the same location I was in before. Let's see. Do we need to go this direction?
Yes.
Interesting. It's aimed towards my shoulder. Okay. How do I look now? Right in the middle?
Hasn't updated yet, but we'll see.
Speaking of bears, I was recently in Montana, and all I wanted to see was a bear. And on one day, in a span of about 10 minutes, I saw 8 bears.
Wow.
Within a 1-mile drive. And it was amazing because we saw mama bears and their cubs. And it was a really beautiful sight to see. So I would love to go to Alaska and see bears there as well. But I mean, according to Michael, there aren't any. So
nope, there's no bears in Alaska. The only bear I saw in Alaska is when I went to the museum and there was a stuffed bear in the museum. Other than that, no bears. Though one of our guides did tell us, because he actually lived up there, he grew up in Alaska, and he said that he and his friends on the 4th of July went out to the lake to have a party and then decided to go for a hike. When they came back, the bear had gotten into all of their food, but the bear also got into their alcohol. And the bear was very drunk.
Very drunk.
And they all got cited for getting the bear drunk.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And let's see, Vanessa mentions that AT&T's gone true unlimited. If they allow that on the M5 cellular data plan, definitely that would be great. I just wonder how truly it is. Is there data caps? Do they throttle at any point? Because truly unlimited, they can say, yeah, you have all the unlimited data you want, but once you go past a certain amount of data use, we start throttling you back. Because I know that's what a lot of the cellular providers have done in the past. So you end up at a certain point where all you can do is send text messages because they dropped you down to 3G speeds. But it would be nice if one of them would actually come up with a real unlimited plan.
They'll never do that unless they're forced to.
Yep. Yeah, and that is one complaint people have about all of the Wi-Fi hotspots is trying to find a data plan for a SIM card that is as close to unlimited as possible, because you can blow through data so fast on a hotspot.
You got to have one grandfathered in from the very start. They did unlimited and they didn't figure out they need to cap it and then just keep it rolling over and do that.
Yep. Yeah, in fact, I carry a hotspot whenever I do trade shows. And luckily, even though the data SIM I have for it, which comes from work, had said, 5 gig was the amount that was on there, it actually was basically unlimited because it was coming from a pool for our company. But I went through that 5 gig in a couple of days because I had reports I had to do, lots of downloading, things like that. And yeah, you can really eat through data.
Yeah. Speaking of mobile hotspots, I know Vanessa is keen on our mobile M1s. And I wish we had an update for the M5 coming out for US. I know, I think that Kieran should be able to be in the market for the M5. I got my hands on it.
Well, we have the LM1200. which is the 5.
Is the LM1200 also battery operated if it's not plugged in?
No. No, the LM1200 is fixed wireless.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep, and that's still only 4G. So yeah, for the 5G, definitely. Though people need to keep in mind that with 5G wireless, not Wi-Fi for your home, but the 5G cellular wireless, unless you have specific hardware in your house to get a signal from the inside to the out, most likely those hotspots will drop back to 4G when you're inside the house, because the 5G cellular signal is a very, very tight band, and it does have problems going through things.
Got it. Yeah, and while there are more questions to pop in, isn't it true that solar panels could cause an issue with signal?
Absolutely. Yep. If you have your roof covered in solar panels, then it's almost the same thing as putting metal up there, which means that you're going to have problems with the signal. Luckily, with solar panels, usually your entire house isn't covered. It's usually like one roof, the one that's aimed in the best location for the sun. But yeah, it'll have exactly the same sort of problem because you've got metal there, you've got extra glass layers, other material it has to go through.
Yep.
And speaking of solar panels, I did read a great story, not to pimp Elon Musk stuff because I think he overcharges for it, but those solar tiles for houses, there was someone that actually had put those in his home in Texas. And about a month afterwards, one of the big storms went through that were baseball-sized hail. And they actually showed a baseball with hail in the other hand, and they were almost the same size.
Wow.
And the person was really worried the next day they were going to go out, look, and see all of these broken, tiles. No breaks in the tiles, getting full power out of the tiles afterwards. And that just showed how well made or how rugged they are if they could go through the hail that was breaking car windows, denting cars, and all that.
Yeah, wow.
Apologies for the technical difficulties, everyone. I'm working on fixing the screens, but my apologies for that. But you can still hear us, so that's what's important.
Yes, they can hear but can't see. And 50 solar panels on the roof. Vanessa, that's a lot of solar panels. I would love to find out how much power you're using per day. And I don't know where you live, whether they put limits on it, but I know here in California, they have a quirky limit on solar panels, which is you can only put in as much solar panels as the amount of power you're currently using.
Oh, wow.
So if you wanted to put more in, saying, well, I'm planning on expanding, and putting all these other things that are going to use a lot more power. No, they'll only allow you to put in as much as how much power you've been using over like the last 3 months, 9 months, something like that.
What's their reasoning?
I have never seen the reasoning, and it makes no sense to me, except maybe it's their way. Maybe it was a deal they cut with the power companies, because I know in California, you sell your excess power back to the power companies, and the power companies may be saying, we don't want people generating power and then selling it back to us. So this is a way to limit it and say, you'll only be generating as much power as you're actually using. Yep. And Vanessa Kitty mentions there's good antennas to connect to cellular routers. Yeah, the one thing that for indoors I would wonder about, though, is basically you need to do the same thing that they used to do way back when with cell phones, is you could actually get an antenna for your car that fit on the glass outside, and you had a receiving unit on the inside, and it could transmit it through the glass. So you had less degradation of your signal than without it when you're inside the car, because the car is basically metal all the way around you. And so for a home, you need the same thing, is you need a receiving unit inside the house that's then wired to another unit outside the house. And that way, that's how you'd bypass the wall and actually get stuff inside without it dropping down to 4G. Yep. And 15 kilowatts, that's not Not a bad amount of power per day. I'm pretty sure I don't use that much. Close though, but not that much.
My husband made me start paying the PG&E bill because of all the things I've got plugged in for my smart home.
Yep. And every one of those little energy vampires is sucking that much more away.
Yep. It's funny. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah.
Yep. We got 10 minutes left. Get them in.
Yep. Oh, and Vanessa mentions that the legislature just approved that they can install battery backups on their panels too. You live in a state where you couldn't actually put battery backups in? That's not right. When you buy solar panels, you should be able to have battery backups as well. And I know in California you can, because one of the houses where we went to do a video shoot, not only on solar panels, but they had two of Tesla's battery walls, which I thought was unfair. That's hogging battery walls.
Welcome, Bond James. It's nice to meet you.
Ah, yes. Bond James, James Bond. Haven't seen your name in a while.
If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We got about 10 minutes left, and we'd love to know what you have to say.
Yep. Yeah, and if Vanessa's actually getting 15 kilowatts per hour, then yeah, she blows way beyond the amount of wattage that I use a day in my house. I think we might hit 12 or 14 kilowatts a day, and she's doing that in a single hour. So she's running a lot of stuff at her place. So Christine, when are you going to put solar panels on your house? I know you live someplace where it's really sunny.
I do indeed. You know, I don't think that'll ever happen.
Darn.
I need my 5G. I have the cable Orbi that's LTE just for testing, and it's working really well. So I don't want to mess that up.
Yes. And I did read an interesting article with a recommendation for people putting solar panels on their house that I had never even thought of, which is if your roof is anywhere close to needing to be replaced, make sure to replace the roof before you put the solar panels on. Because otherwise, if you put the panels on and then 5 years later you have to replace the roof, you've got to pay to have all the solar panels taken off, the roof replaced, and then the panels put on. It's like, I'd never thought about it, but that could run into a lot of money.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Welcome, Elvis. So
Yep.
Elvis impersonator, my bad. Elvis says, I'm looking to buy a new router to put in AP mode or an AP that supports LACP 802.380 link aggregation on the LAN side. Which Wi-Fi 6 or 6E devices support link? AGG.
The Wi-Fi 6, I believe there is one that does. Let me do a quick check on that. Just make sure. Okay, we have the WAN aggregation there. Yeah, I know that we do have at least one that allows for link aggregation. 802.3AD. Let me look at that. I want to refresh my memory on it. Okay, so yeah, that's just standard link aggregation. Yeah, I know one of our Wi-Fi 6 routers does allow for link aggregation on a couple of its ports, but I'm trying to look up which one it is. Darren, you wouldn't happen to know which one, would you?
I do not.
Yeah. There we go. That should. Okay. Link aggregation on your Nighthawk. The AX8 router allows for link aggregation. Now, which model? Right. X8. Okay, so that should be the AX6000, which is model number here. There it is. RAX80 definitely has it. And I know I do not believe our 6E has that, but the Wi-Fi 6 router does.
Looks like we have a question coming in from Kumar about an RBK50 system that says the Ethernet cable is unplugged, but it is plugged in. It's done a power cycle.
But I checked the cables are plugged in, power cycling it. Yeah, the first thing I would do is I'd recommend changing the cable, because Ethernet cables go bad, and that's always the first and easiest check, is swap out the cable to make sure it's not a cable problem. Let's see. The other thing is I'd recommend try plugging a different device into the other end of the cable to make sure there isn't some sort of weird communication problem between that port and the client device. Also, RBR50, I believe, has more than one port on the back. So I would also try a different port to make sure that there isn't something wrong with that particular port. Darren, any other suggestions?
No, I was going to suggest the same things. Make sure all your hardware is good, cords, connections, all that stuff first.
Yep, that's probably the best suggestion, for now. And trying to just narrow down cable, specific port that's the problem. It sounds like you've done all the power cycling on the device. And if it's saying that the cable is disconnected, then yeah, it's not recognizing anything's actually on the other end of the cable.
And quickly, Tech in the City, Honolulu. Boy, don't we wish we were there right now. One of his MR1100's units show that it's connected to 4G and connected to Wi-Fi, but the internet is not coming through. Occasionally, I will see a message, broadband disconnected. I actually had a similar issue over the weekend when I was using my MR1100, and it was because I was in an area that had really poor reception. So the product was working well. I was in an area where I was too far away from the cellular provider's antenna, so the reception was bad. Michael, I know you are intimately familiar with the M1s. Any guidance there?
Not really. I've seen that happen on mine before when I'd been out at events, and it usually meant that it actually really didn't have a very good connection to the cellular tower, or the cellular tower was flooded with other users. So I still had a connection, but with the broadband disconnect, the unit tries to ping something and it doesn't get anything back, so it pops up that message. So that's also another possibility. Is that, and especially if you're in Honolulu, because I've been there before and there's 10 billion people crammed into a very tiny space. So
yeah. What's interesting though is he says it affects just that one unit. He has 15 of them, and it seems only affects
just the one unit's getting disconnected.
Yeah.
Then it could be the unit's bad. One thing I would try though is pop out the SIM card for one of the good units and pop it into that unit and see if the same problem happens. And if so, then yeah, there's something going on with the unit itself.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah, I love that hotspot.
Yes.
Michael, do you know, in some of our applications, our IP address is validated. And so when I'm in a different location, my M1, if it's hitting a different tower, will that assign me a different IP address? I'm going to guess yes, it does, but.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Yep.
I have my own questions on this show. And it looks like we are at the top of the hour. So it's been a great show.
It's very clear. I mean, this being my first time, it's very clear that there's a really amazing community that shows up every Friday. So please come again next Friday. We would love to see you all there, and make sure to like this video and also subscribe to our YouTube, because we are uploading every single day about new devices and new information that I know all of you would love to see. So yeah, this has been great. Thanks for coming out, everybody.
Yep. Yeah, and Elvis, we can pass on that feature suggestion of making a filter with link aggregation on our website, so that anyone who's interested in it can just hit that one button, and it'll filter out all the products that don't have link aggregation, so you'd only see the ones that do support it. That's a good suggestion.
Awesome.
Awesome. And be sure to come back next week for any more questions, and we will see you then.
Yep. Everyone take care.
Bye.
Hey.